without further ado, I'm going to introduce our presenter tonight. Our presenter tonight will not be joining us live. It is a pre-recorded teaching, but it is absolutely exquisite, professionally recorded and produced video that was recorded just a couple of days ago at what many believe to be Mount Sinai in Egypt. And I'm really thrilled to honor and introduce our teacher tonight, or this morning, wherever you may be. Rabbi Lee Moore has been living in southern Sinai for the last 5 months and is inspired to share insights around how this particular desert landscape shaped Israelite experiences and our Torah narratives. She holds an MS Environmental Policy from the University of Michigan and has been a passionate contributor to earth-based Jewish frames and practices for over 20 years. Rabbi Lee has learned from and nurtured by the landscapes and cultures of the southern Sinai over 12 visits during the last 25 years. And so before we open with the first clip that we're going to watch together, I'm going to ask a question of folks here. What does the phrase holy ground mean to you? And so I'm going to invite folks to type into the chat. What does the phrase holy ground mean to you? Some of us are, someone wrote sacredness of the earth, sacred earth. Sacred foundation. Sacred relationship. Being in sacred relationship with the earth and all life. Awe, merging. Beautiful. We're going to have an option to move into a breakout room. And the prompt is, I'm going to put it in the chat. Think of a time you felt you were standing on holy ground. Where was the place? Describe as many particulars as you can remember, and how did it feel to be there? I'm going to give you an option to go to a breakout room and to share your answers to these questions. We'll come back in about 3 minutes. We now travel together to the foothills of the Sinai Mountains. And as we do that, let us take with us some words. So if you got to a breakout room or if you didn't get to a breakout room, let's just list some adjectives, some feelings. How did it feel to stand on holy ground? And travel together.
Welcome. I'm Rabbi Lee Moore, on location here in the wilderness of Sinai, not far from Mount Sinai. On this holiday of Shavuot, I want to bring to you an experience where you can, I hope, join me here, that you can feel this landscape with me. I've been spending the last 5 months in this area, and what's come to me is how important it is for us to feel this landscape. This is where our ancestors stood at the bottom of Mount Sinai. Now, whether we understand this literally, as some of us do, and that's beautiful and holy, or we understand it metaphorically, as some of us do, and I feel that's also beautiful and holy, however you understand this idea of coming to Mount Sinai, of Moses going to the top, receiving revelation from the divine. However you understand that story, this is the place where it happened. And when I say this, some people really want to understand where is the exact mountain. Here in St. Catherine's, it's called Jebel Musa. And many people climb to the top, and indeed, it's quite an experience. But we don't know exactly. We don't know the exact places where the people wandered. In fact, some people feel that the entire Exodus narrative is metaphorical, that perhaps it's about the bucking up against the Egyptian empire of the time by a scrappy band of Canaanite rebels, something like this. And it never actually was a journey across this land. Even if this is what we feel, this tract of land, Sinai, the liminal space, the space between where ancient Canaan was and the ancient pharaonic empires were, is still the meeting point of those two cultures. So I'm really inspired to look in this land, to feel this land, to feel the wind, to feel the rocks, to see the way people live in this land, so as to better understand this part of our history. And here on Shavuot, it's not just about history. This is our metaphorical meeting place with the divine. Each one of us inside has an inner Moshe, an inner Moses, a place where we go to when we need to connect with the divine. We have the opportunity, the invitation to do this. So I want to say that I think this land can offer us some interesting opportunities if we look into the spiritual ecology of how it is. What is the desert? What is the desert? When we think desert, we might think sand, but there's so much more to it. The stillness, the quiet, the way that we can explore our mind, explore our soul, just by being in this quiet. So on this journey, I want to invite you to come with me as I'm going to head into this midbar, this desert, I'm going to explore this landscape as part of the conditions of revelation. What is it about this landscape? You know, many people go into nature and feel God just by being in nature. This is true for me. There's something about it. When I'm able to really be in nature, I go into a different kind of being. All the more so to go into nature in this holy land, all the more so to go into nature here at the footsteps of Mount Sinai. So I want to invite you to come with me. The Song of Songs has a line that says, Mi zot ola min hamidbar. Who is she that rises up from the deserts? So as we're walking now in the deserts, I want to invite you to go inside and see what rises in you. When you see the landscape, when you hopefully can feel it through the screen, this is really my intention. Who is it that rises? What is it that rises up? You may want to have a pen and paper to take some notes, or you may want to just go inside and feel what is rising for you when you see and feel this landscape along with me. So yalla, come and join me on this journey.
I'm just going to very briefly pause the video to just name that this is Rabbi Lee Moore. She is our teacher this morning. If you would like to simply listen to her story, please do that. She is going to be inviting us into a couple of experiential pieces, including the option to journal or to meditate. So just take an extra moment if you need a pen, or if you want to type on your phone or computer, or just adjust your posture so that you can fully experience the next few pieces of this activity.
Mi sotola min hamidba ketim rotasham mekuteret mo ulevona mir zotola min hamidba ketim rotasham mekuteret mo ulevona. Makuteret mo ulevona bizodala min hamidbo katim rodasham makuteret mo. From inside of this desert landscape, I want to ask the question, what is revelation? We understand revelation on this holiday of Shavuot as the time when Moses, or as he's known around here, Nabi Musa, the prophet Moses, went to the top of the mountain and received. How can we also receive? How can we make ourselves a receptacle for receiving on this night, in fact, right now? In a moment, I'm going to lead us in a guided meditation for us to receive. But before this, I want to ask another question, which is, what is the desert? What is this landscape? What is it? So some of us have lived in desert landscapes before and know the desert intimately. Some of us do not. But for all of us, it's important to come closer to the desert because this place is the place where this revelation happened. What does the desert give us? Even that we can feel it, even if we're not in the desert. The desert is a place of stillness, right? Not a lot of motion. Place of deep quiet. The desert is a place of water. Now, that might sound strange because when we think desert, we think the priority of the landscape is rock and stone and sand and dryness, and this is true. But water is also part of the desert. Ushaftem mayim besason mimaynei Yeshua. Ushaftem mayim besason mimaynei Yeshua. Mayim, 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 mayim. Mayim, maya haya, mayim chayim. Without water, there is no life. And there is life in the desert. It's just a different kind of life, a different kind of relationship with water. What is this relationship with water in the desert? Each different kind of landscape on this earth offers us opportunities to feel into the elements. And here, water is precious beyond everything. This idea of Mei HaYeshua, the waters of salvation. Water is salvation because we need it. We need it for life. So here in the desert, water, it's not like we appreciate water because we know how important it is. It is the fundamental piece that everything else comes from, is the water. So I want to open this notion of water as salvation here in the desert as an opportunity for us to examine our own relationship with water. Even if we're not in the desert, water is still precious. It is still life. What we get from experiencing water in the desert are tools for how to be very careful with how much water we use. The way that people live here, the water is so contained. Containers, enabling the water to last. My friends, again, even if we live in a place where we feel water is abundant, we are in a water crisis in the earth right now. And we must, all of us, pay attention to how we are using water. So the desert is a place where it's not something conceptual. We can feel the preciousness of this water flowing in the desert. So what does this have to do with Revelation? Where is the place inside of us that holds something precious, that understands the preciousness of our life? This too is one of the gifts of this landscape, inspiring us to come to what is of value to us deeply, beyond the material things that we may have or not. Where is the place inside of us that can really feel this preciousness of life? Like coming across water in the desert. What is it that we come across inside of ourselves that is precious? So now I'm going to ask you to sit comfortably. Take a deep breath. And bringing your awareness to your heart center. If you feel like it, you can touch your heart with your hand. Or let the hands be very relaxed on your lap. But they should be unfolded and just relaxed. If you're in a chair, feeling your feet very firmly on the ground. If you're sitting like this, feeling the place where your body is supported by the ground. If you're comfortable closing the eyes, and I want to invite you into this place of the desert. A place of stillness. A place of freedom. Where anything that comes is allowed. Imagining that you're sitting here with me. Again, feeling into the heart. What is my heart longing for this Shavuot? At this time in my life in general? Where is the place inside of me that is longing? And where is the place inside of me that there may be some emptiness beyond the longing? A simple place where there's not a lot of chatter. Imagining ourselves like Moses, Moshe, Nabi Musa, without anything around, just me and God. The landscape opening before us. Now I'm going to stop speaking for a few moments and invite into the silence some revelation. It may not be flashy like the mountain on fire, or it may be. Continue in these moments to come back to the heart space and follow the breath if that's helpful, and just listen. Listen into the stillness, into the spaciousness, without any expectation. We'll begin now. Sinai, Ashan Kulo, Ashan Kulo, Ha Sinai, Ashan Kulo, Ashan Kulo, Olam Shana Nefesh, Olam Shana Nefesh, Olam Shana Nefesh, Ha Sinai, Ashan Kulo, Ashan Kulo. In the Holy Torah it says, Har Sinai Ashan Kulo. The mountain of Sinai was totally burning. And our sage Rashi says, what is the Shan? What does it mean that the mountain was burning? Ashan, Ain, Shin, Nun. Ain for Olam. Shin for Shana. Nun for Nefesh. Lifting a teaching from the Sefer Yetzirah, an ancient mystical text. That this Ashan, Olam, Shana, Nefesh, is world, time, and soul. When world, or space, and time, and soul all come together, this is the moment of revelation. Can we bring together, wherever we are in the world, our space, this time, and our soul, aligning to receive. So we'll be quiet again for a few more breaths, inviting the most receptive part of who we are to simply be and to listen. Gently returning, you may want to open your eyes and again take pen and paper to make any notes. Anything that came up for you, just write it down. Just free writing, let your pen go. It doesn't have to stop. Whatever you feel to write now. Ashan Kula, Ashan Kula, Olam Shana Nefesh, Olam Shana Nefesh, Olam Shana Nefesh, the landscape of Sinai, the place where Moses encounters God. In addition to the story of Revelation, we have another time that Moses encounters God in this landscape. It's earlier in the story. The burning bush. Here we have a bush of Sinai. Maybe the burning bush was like this. Maybe totally different. Who knows? What happens in this encounter between Moses and God? This is the moment that God says to Moses, "Nu, I need your help. You have to go free the slaves. My people have been calling out to me. I need you to do this." And Moses' response is, "Mi anochi." What, me? There's a sense of trepidation, a sense that he's not sure. He needs some assurance from God. And God gives him this assurance. This is Exodus 3, verses 11 and 12. God gives him this assurance and says two things. First, I'll be with you. You don't have to worry so much because I'll be there. Beautiful. Great. That's a type of assurance. But the second type of assurance that God gives Moshe is about place. God says, when this is finished and you do this job, you will come back to this place and you will worship me from here. So this really stood out to me this year. I'm a little embarrassed as a rabbi that I never noticed before, or I forgot somehow that the burning bush was the same place as Mount Sinai. Okay, I didn't realize that. It really resonated for me personally in a way I was not expecting, because I don't know if this is true for you, but for me there are certain places that when I go there, I make it back to that place, it just feels like total gratitude, total like, wow, I made it back to this place. You know, for some people it might be like a summer camp, that when you come back to the summer camp and you feel the way it feels to be there in that place, you smell the smells, you feel the air, it just something feels right. This idea of returning to a place that's really special to us resonated super deeply for me here in Sinai as one of those places for me that I have felt that. It got me thinking about the power of place. Sense of place. The way that these special places in our lives touch us, help us return to a certain place inside of ourselves. I wish that I could share with you more sense of place here with the winds, the smell of havak. It's horse mint. If you have mint at home, you could go and get some mint and crush it and just smell, and this is a bit of a way of smelling the desert. There's another plant here. What is it? Batharam. The way that it grows wildly, and if your stomach is upset, you can put it in tea. It's really good for you. The way that the place, any place has things like this. Take care of us. Be in relationship with these plants. I just learned that Batham is wormwood, which is often mentioned in the Torah, and I never really knew what it was. The way that if you're walking in the desert a lot, your feet get so dry, you need oil. The role of oils how they come through the land and into our skin. So also, if you have some oil around or some lotion, you could put it on your skin, imagining it quenching your skin the way it would be necessary if you were in this place. The place of Sinai, it's not the promised land. It's a holy place, right? But it is not the promised land. It's on the way. It's not exile either. We have these various types of places in our tradition. This is the place of connection, a place of raw connection, a rawness that does not always feel good. It's not always easy to be in a place with little water, but how much we appreciate the tiny things, the basics of life. This is part of the way this landscape could shape us if we come closer to it. My friends, as this time comes to a close, I want to thank you for being here with me. I hope I've been able to give you a bit of a taste of this place and a window into place in general, how we can return to places, how we can let places infuse us with their landscape. And I feel this landscape in particular, I want to invite you to come closer to as a way to understand our tradition better. I want to give thanks also to the musicians who created the music we used here today. Josh Loffer, Mizotola, and Rabbi Shir Yaakov Har Sinai, Ashan Kulo. Chag Sameach. I hope you have a beautiful Shavuot infused with revelation.
Taking just a few extra moments, coming back from Sinai to this Zoom room. Noticing some of the key words, this holy space, a place that can be holy without being the promised land, creating a vessel for revelation. I'm going to ask folks to type in the chat. How can we make ourselves a receptacle for receiving? For some of us, dawn has already come. For some of us, we're waiting for the dawn. So whether we're counting down to that moment to being able to receive the giving of the Torah, or whether this is a practice that will help us beyond this holiday, I invite you to type into the chat. How can we receive revelation? How can we make ourselves a receptacle for receiving? One thing that could help is also just naming the senses. We heard smelling, we heard anointing. I'm going to read some of the things in the chat. Anchoring in gratitude. Feeding our bodies. Yeah, I really connected with the image of the oil on the feet, just looking for those rough places and softening them, nourishing them. Mm. Mm. We're here in this stillness. We're here in this quiet. And before we say farewell, just leave an extra couple minutes if anyone wants to share, um, either in the chat or by unmuting, something that you wrote, or something that you were taking away from this session. Just an extra couple of minutes, and a relatively small group compared to some of the other sessions of the night. I'm going to read a couple more things in the chat. Taking sacred pause. Oh, feeling our bodies. I read that wrong earlier. I said feeding our bodies, but feeling our bodies is great too.
Feeding our bodies is great also.
Let's do both. Sacred pause throughout the day and evening. Be open to a fresh start. Someone wrote, water is so much of my sensibility. So I'll just invite, if anyone else wants to, can unmute and share something you wrote, or just something that you saw in our journey to Sinai and now back in the Zoom room. Totally optional. Folks are also
Hi.
just kind of, yes.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Kahn, and I'm not Jewish. I'm an Episcopalian, but I am so devoted. The atmosphere in which I grew up was very Jewish, and I'm so grateful for this time together with you, my sisters. And I am learning so much, and I just want to pay tribute to all of you and to thank you, all of you, and to say that I pray for you every day.
Thank you.
I would love to share something. My name is Ilana Sumka. I have the distinct honor of being friends with both Sarah, Shamir, and with Rabbi Lee. And when I spoke with Rabbi Lee while she was in Sinai, she said something that brought me to this session and that I've been thinking about, which is, and I'm going to paraphrase it, so I hope I do justice to what she said, but she said something like, I really feel that to understand the Hebrew people, you have to understand desert life and what it means to live communally in the desert. And I was so struck by that. I was so powerful, and I wanted to share that I'm appreciating how different life is in the desert and how Rabbi Lee made it so visceral. So thank you both for presenting this session.
Thank you. Just breathing or sitting or standing or napping with this space in between. Usually in a conversation or in a class or in a Zoom, when there's quiet, it's like super awkward. But on Shavuot, it's a gift because it's the space. It's the space that opens and enables the revelation to come through. We'll pause for another few moments. If there's anyone else who wants to share, either in the chat or to speak, we have another message in the chat: openness and being present, making space for the revelation. So, as many folks know, this is the space that we've been holding throughout the night. And I believe the next session here, there's a little bit of a break before the next session in this space. I want to thank all of you for your presence, for your honoring, for your practice and reflection. And if you're going off to dreamland, may you go off to dreamland. If you're just waking up in the morning, may your revelation be sweet. May you be able to hold whatever comes through. I'm giving you a blessing that you receive the revelation today and that you receive the Torah every day. Chag Sameach.